A jogger's routine morning run through Fairview Cemetery turned into a nightmare when she stumbled across a woman's lifeless body among the headstones. The victim had been strangled with construction rope, her purse missing. Just 12 hours earlier, this same woman sat across from her boyfriend at Romano's restaurant, nervously fidgeting with her hands as she prepared to share something she'd hidden for 6 months. The dinner ended with shouting, storm-outs, and what witnesses described as pure rage. He drove home angry. She never made it back alive. But what secret could be so devastating that it would drive someone to murder just hours after learning it? Welcome to True Crime Journal HQ. Thanks to all our viewers and subscribers for your support. Stay with us for daily update on the most shocking true crime stories. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. To understand this tragedy, we need to go back to where it all began. In 1984, a baby was born in the small town of Millfield, Ohio, and given the name Victor Stone. From the outside, Victor appeared to be just another kid growing up in America's heartland, but inside, something felt different, profoundly different. Even as a young child, Victor gravitated toward activities and interests that raised eyebrows in their conservative community. While other boys played football and collected baseball cards, Victor preferred art, fashion magazines, and spent hours watching old Hollywood movies featuring glamorous actresses. The confusion was overwhelming. Why don't I feel like the other boys? Victor would wonder, staring at their reflection in the bedroom mirror. The disconnect between who they were inside and what everyone expected them to be created a constant internal battle. By middle school, the differences became impossible to ignore. Victor's voice didn't drop like their classmates. Their mannerisms, interests, and even the way they walked drew unwanted attention from bullies who sensed vulnerability. The small-town environment offered no understanding, no resources, and certainly no acceptance for a child questioning their gender identity. High school brought even more challenges. Victor's parents, devout Christians who ran the local hardware store, grew increasingly concerned about their child's behavior. Family dinners became tense affairs, filled with lectures about being normal and finding God's path. The pressure to conform intensified when Victor's father enrolled them in wrestling, hoping physical contact with other boys would fix whatever was wrong. Instead, it made everything worse. The breaking point came during Victor's senior year, when their parents discovered women's clothing hidden in their closet. The confrontation was explosive. Harsh words were exchanged, tears were shed, and ultimatums were delivered. Either you get right with God and start acting like the man you're supposed to be, or you find somewhere else to live, Victor's father declared. That night, Victor made a decision that would change everything. They packed a single suitcase and left Millfield forever, heading to Columbus, where they could finally breathe without judgment. College provided the first taste of freedom and self-discovery. Victor began researching gender identity, connecting with online communities, and slowly understanding that they weren't alone or broken. The revelation was both liberating and terrifying. At 27, Victor made the courageous decision to transition, choosing the name Valeria, a name that felt like coming home after years of wandering in the wilderness. The transition process was challenging but transformative. Hormone therapy, voice coaching, legal name changes. Each step brought Valeria closer to her authentic self, but it also meant cutting ties with her past completely. Her family refused all contact, treating her as if she had died. Seeking a fresh start, Valeria moved to Camden County, New Jersey in 2014. She landed a job at a mid-sized marketing firm where her creativity and work ethic quickly earned respect from colleagues who knew nothing about her past. For the first time in her life, Valeria experienced what it felt like to be accepted simply as herself. But dating remained complicated. How do you build intimate relationships when a fundamental part of your history must remain hidden? Valeria tried various approaches. Some first dates ended abruptly when she was upfront about being transgender, while others led to relationships that crumbled under the weight of secrecy. The loneliness was crushing. She would spend evenings in her apartment, scrolling through social media, watching couples celebrate anniversaries and engagements, wondering if genuine love would ever be possible for someone like her. Have you ever had to hide a part of yourself to feel accepted? By 2019, Valeria had built a successful career and a comfortable life, but romantic love remained elusive. She craved the connection that seemed to come so naturally to others. When dating apps became popular, she saw an opportunity. Perhaps she could meet someone and build a foundation of genuine connection before revealing her complete truth. That's when she met Dale Morrison. Now let's examine the man whose life would intersect so tragically with Valeria's. Dale Morrison was born and raised in Gloucester County, South Jersey, where traditional values and blue-collar work ethics ran deep in his family's bloodline. His grandfather had worked the docks in Philadelphia. His father laid concrete for 30 years, and Dale naturally followed into construction work after high school. Growing up in the 1980s and 90s, Dale's worldview was shaped by a tight-knit community where men were expected to be providers, protectors, and pillars of strength. Gender roles were clearly defined, and anything outside those boundaries was met with suspicion or outright hostility. Sunday dinners at his parents' house reinforced these beliefs week after week. At 22, Dale married his high school sweetheart Karen, and for 2 decades they seemed to embody the American dream. They bought a modest ranch house in Deptford, raised 2 kids, and settled into suburban routine. Dale worked his way up from day laborer to foreman at Morrison Construction, a company coincidentally sharing his last name but owned by distant relatives. However, behind closed doors, their marriage was crumbling. Dale's old-school mentality clashed with Karen's growing independence as she pursued her nursing degree. Arguments became frequent, communication broke down, and by 2018, Karen filed for divorce, citing irreconcilable differences. The divorce devastated Dale. At 44, he suddenly found himself living alone in a cramped apartment, paying alimony and child support while watching his ex-wife move on with her life. The loneliness hit harder than he'd anticipated. His work buddies tried dragging him to bars, but Dale felt out of place among younger crowds and awkward around women after 2 decades of marriage. Friends suggested he try online dating. "Everyone's doing it these days, Dale. It's not like the old days where you had to approach someone at a bar," his co-worker Mike explained, while they grabbed lunch from their usual food truck. Dale was skeptical, but desperate. He created profiles on multiple dating apps, struggling to present himself attractively while hiding his bitterness about the divorce. The rejections stung. Many women seemed intimidated by his blue-collar background or turned off by his traditional expectations about relationships. How well do we really know the people we meet online? By early 2019, Dale had nearly given up on finding love again when Valeria's profile caught his attention. Her smile seemed genuine, her interests appeared compatible with his, and most importantly, she responded to his messages with enthusiasm rather than polite dismissal. If you are enjoying this content, like, subscribe, and share it with your loved ones to protect them from the same tragedy happening to them in the future. February 14th, 2019, Valentine's Day. While most people were celebrating love, Dale Morrison was swiping through dating profiles, feeling more alone than ever. That's when Valeria Stone's photo appeared on his screen. Her warm brown eyes and genuine smile stopped his mindless scrolling immediately. Her profile mentioned loving classic movies, Italian food, and weekend drives along the Jersey Shore, interests that aligned perfectly with his own. Dale crafted his message carefully. "Hey there, I noticed you love old movies too. Have you seen Casablanca at the Princeton Garden Theatre? They do classic film nights every month." Valeria's response came within hours. "I haven't been there yet, but I'd love to. Humphrey Bogart is my absolute favorite." Their text conversation flowed effortlessly. Dale found himself laughing out loud at Valeria's witty observations about modern dating, while she appreciated his old-fashioned courtesy and genuine interest in getting to know her beyond surface-level attraction. Their first coffee date at Corner Cafe in Haddonfield exceeded both their expectations. Dale arrived 15 minutes early, nervous as a teenager. When Valeria walked in wearing a simple blue dress that complemented her dark hair, he stood up instinctively, a gesture that made her smile. A gentleman, she thought, relief washing over her. Too many dating app encounters had been disasters. They talked for 3 hours, Dale shared stories about his construction projects, his pride in building structures that would last generations. Valeria discussed her marketing campaigns, her passion for helping small businesses find their voice. Neither mentioned their past relationships or personal struggles. This was about discovering who they were becoming together. By their fifth date, they'd established a comfortable rhythm. Friday night dinners, Saturday morning farmers markets, Sunday afternoon drives down Route 35 toward Point Pleasant Beach. Dale appreciated having someone who listened to his work stories without glazed eyes, while Valeria cherished feeling desired and respected simultaneously. 3 months in, Dale introduced Valeria to his co-workers during a company barbecue. "This is my girl," he announced proudly, his arm around her waist. The guys welcomed her warmly, impressed that their gruff foreman had found someone so classy and intelligent. Valeria met Dale's parents in May during a backyard cookout. His mother immediately took to her, praising her manners and commenting on how happy Dale seemed. "I haven't seen him smile like this since before the divorce," she whispered to her husband. For Valeria, these moments felt simultaneously wonderful and terrifying. She was experiencing the relationship she'd dreamed about, genuine affection, acceptance, and the possibility of building a future with someone. Dale talked about weekend trips to Atlantic City, mentioned wanting to introduce her to his children eventually, even hinted at moving in together. But beneath the surface happiness, anxiety gnawed at Valeria's peace of mind. Every intimate moment, every declaration of feelings, every plan for the future felt like a lie by omission. She would catch herself in quiet moments, wondering how long she could maintain this beautiful illusion. Late at night, alone in her apartment, she would stare at the ceiling and ask herself the same question over and over. When do I tell him the truth? But Valeria knew this fairy tale was built on borrowed time. August 15th, 2019. Valeria had been dreading this day for weeks, but she couldn't postpone it any longer. Dale had started talking seriously about their future, mentioning lease renewals, holiday plans with his family, even dropping hints about engagement rings. The weight of her secret had become unbearable. She spent the entire afternoon preparing for what might be their last dinner together. Standing in front of her bathroom mirror, Valeria practiced different versions of the conversation. "Dale, there's something about my past I need to share with you." Too clinical. "I haven't been completely honest about who I am." Too vague. Every approach felt wrong because there was no right way to shatter someone's world. Romano's Italian restaurant had become their special place, the spot where they'd celebrated her promotion, where Dale had first said, "I love you," where they'd shared countless Friday night dinners over the past 6 months. The familiar red checkered tablecloths and soft lighting that once felt romantic now seemed to mock her. Dale arrived first, as usual, securing their preferred corner booth. When Valeria walked in, he noticed immediately that something was different. Her usual bright smile seemed forced, and she kept checking her phone nervously. "You okay, babe? You seem jumpy tonight," Dale said, reaching across to squeeze her hand. Valeria's stomach churned. His touch, normally comforting, felt like a reminder of everything she was about to lose. "I'm fine, just tired from work." They ordered their usual chicken parmigiana for him, seafood risotto for her, but Valeria barely touched her food. Dale filled the silence with stories about his latest construction project, oblivious to the internal war raging across from him. Finally, during dessert, Valeria found her courage. "Dale, we need to talk about something important," she began, her voice barely above a whisper. He set down his coffee cup, immediately alert to her serious tone. "What's going on? You're scaring me." Valeria took a deep breath. This was it. The moment that would either deepen their relationship or destroy it completely. "I need to tell you something about my past that I should have shared from the beginning," she continued, tears already forming in her eyes. "Before I moved to New Jersey, before I became the person you know now, I was born male. I'm transgender, Dale. I transitioned 5 years ago." The words hung in the air like a grenade with the pin pulled out. Dale's face went through a series of emotions: confusion, disbelief, realization, and finally rage. Other diners began to notice as his voice rose. "What the hell are you saying to me right now?" he demanded, pushing back from the table so violently that his chair scraped loudly against the floor. "Dale, please, let me explain." "Explain what? That you've been lying to me for 6 months? That you've made me look like a fool?" His voice was getting louder, attracting stares from nearby tables. Maria Santos, a waitress working that night, later told police. The man was shouting, calling her terrible names. Everyone in the restaurant was staring. She was crying, begging him to lower his voice, but he just kept getting angrier. Dale threw his napkin down and stood up abruptly. "I can't even look at you right now," he spat, his face red with humiliation and fury. He pulled out his wallet, threw down a $50 bill and stormed toward the exit. "Dale, wait!" Valeria called after him, but he was already gone. What would you do if someone you cared about revealed a life-changing secret? Valeria sat alone at the table for several minutes, mascara running down her cheeks as concerned diners whispered around her. Finally, she gathered her composure, paid the remaining balance, and left the restaurant where her relationship had just died. But what Dale did next would turn him from heartbroken to homicidal. Dale sat in his pickup truck in Romano's parking lot, his hands gripping the steering wheel so tightly his knuckles turned white. The anger coursing through his veins felt like molten metal. Everything he thought he knew about his life, his relationship, his future, all of it had been a lie. His phone buzzed with a text from Valeria. "Please, can we talk? I know you're hurt, but I love you." The message only fueled his rage. Love? How could she talk about love after what she'd just revealed? Dale's first call was to his ex-wife Karen, desperate for someone to validate his feelings. "You're not going to believe what just happened to me," he began, his voice shaking with emotion. But Karen, still bitter from their divorce, offered no sympathy. "Sounds like karma finally caught up with you, Dale," she said coldly before hanging up. Next, he called his brother Tommy, who lived in South Philadelphia. "Tom, I need to talk to someone. I just found out the woman I've been dating for 6 months. She used to be a man." Tommy's response was immediate and harsh. "What? Are you serious right now? Dude, that's messed up. How could you not know? People are going to think you're gay or something." The words stung deeper than Dale expected. His brother's reaction confirmed his worst fears about how others would perceive him if this got out. But it was his third call that would prove most crucial to the investigation. Dale dialed his longtime friend and co-worker, Rick Martinez, who would later provide damaging testimony to police. "Rick, I need to vent, man. That woman I've been seeing, Valeria, she just told me she's transgender. She's been lying to me this whole time, making me look like a complete fool." Rick later testified. Dale was furious, using words I won't repeat here. He kept saying she had humiliated him, that everyone would laugh at him when they found out. He was talking about how she had tricked him and that she needed to pay for what she'd done. I'd never heard him sound so angry, not even during his divorce. Have you ever been so angry that you scared yourself? Where are you watching from? Drop your location in the comments below. If you made it to this point, drop a comment with, "I'm still here." Let's see who is still watching. As Dale ended the call with Rick, something dark crystallized in his mind. The humiliation, the betrayal, the fear of what people would think, it all merged into a single, deadly focus. He started his truck and began driving slowly through Camden County, not heading home as he would later claim to police. Instead, he was waiting. If you are enjoying this content, like, subscribe, and share it with your loved ones to protect them from the same tragedy happening to them in the future. Dale parked across the street from Romano's, watching through his rearview mirror. 23 minutes after their confrontation, he saw Valeria emerge from the restaurant, her shoulders slumped in defeat. She walked slowly to her Honda Civic, unaware that her every movement was being observed by someone whose love had curdled into something much more dangerous. Meanwhile, Valeria had no idea she was being hunted. Valeria drove aimlessly through Camden County, tears blurring her vision as she processed what had just happened. The relationship she'd cherished was over, destroyed by the very truth she'd hoped would set her free. She pulled into Fairview Cemetery, a quiet place where she sometimes came to think and find peace among the old oak trees. She parked near the entrance and stepped out into the humid August night, needing fresh air to clear her head. The cemetery held no fear for her. It was simply a place of reflection where she could process her emotions away from the world's judgment. Valeria walked slowly among the headstones, her phone buzzing repeatedly with unanswered calls from Dale. She'd turned off the ringer, unable to face another confrontation tonight. The silence of the cemetery felt protective, a sanctuary where she could mourn the death of her relationship in private. What she didn't realize was that Dale had followed her there. He approached from behind, his footsteps muffled by the soft grass. "Valeria." She spun around, startled. "Dale! What are you doing here? How did you—" "You destroyed everything," he said, his voice cold and unfamiliar. "6 months of my life. You made me care about a lie." "It wasn't a lie," Valeria pleaded, backing away instinctively. "My feelings for you were real. Everything we shared was real." But Dale's rage had transformed into something much darker during those 20 minutes in the parking lot, during those phone calls that had reinforced his shame and humiliation. In his twisted thinking, Valeria had become the source of all his problems, the reason he felt foolish, emasculated, betrayed. The confrontation escalated quickly. Dale had brought a length of rope from his construction truck, the same type he used daily for securing equipment. In his mind, this wasn't premeditated murder. It was justice for the humiliation she'd caused him. The struggle was brief. Valeria, smaller and caught completely off guard, had no chance to defend herself or escape. By 11:47 p.m. it was over. The next morning, Jennifer Walsh was completing her regular 6 a.m. jog through Fairview Cemetery when she discovered Valeria's body among the headstones. The sight would haunt her forever, a beautiful woman whose life had been cut short by someone's inability to accept her truth. A promising marketing career ended, a woman who'd fought so hard to live authentically, silenced forever. A daughter who'd been rejected by her birth family, now gone before reconciliation was possible. In just 12 hours, love had turned to murder. Detective Michael Chen arrived at Fairview Cemetery that morning, expecting a routine robbery gone wrong. Valeria's purse was missing, her jewelry appeared untouched, and there were no obvious signs of sexual assault. The construction rope used in the strangulation suggested the killer was either prepared or opportunistic, grabbing whatever was available. "Looks like she was in the wrong place at the wrong time," Chen initially told his partner, Detective Lisa Rodriguez. "Probably someone looking for drug money who panicked when she didn't have cash." But the robbery theory began crumbling within hours. Camden County Police canvassed the area surrounding the cemetery, interviewing local residents and business owners. That's when they discovered Romano's Italian restaurant just 2 miles away. Manager Tony Castellano remembered a heated argument the previous evening. "There was this couple at table 12, Tony explained to investigators. "The guy was shouting, making a scene. Maria was their waitress. She'll remember more details than me." Maria Santos provided the breakthrough they needed. The woman was crying, begging him to calm down. He threw money on the table and stormed out, but I'll never forget his face. He looked furious, like he wanted to hurt someone. When shown photo arrays from the New Jersey DMV database, Maria immediately identified Dale Morrison. "That's him. 100%. I served him and his girlfriend many times over the past few months." Cell phone records confirmed Dale's location during the crucial time frame. His phone had pinged towers near Romano's restaurant at 8:47 p.m., then remained in the area until 11:52 p.m., just 5 minutes after the estimated time of death. But the most damaging evidence came from an unexpected source, Dale's own friend. Rick Martinez had spent 2 sleepless nights wrestling with his conscience after Dale's rage-filled phone call. When news reports identified a woman named Valeria Stone as the murder victim, Rick realized the horrible truth about his friend's involvement. "I couldn't live with myself knowing what Dale had told me," Rick later testified. "He was talking about making her pay for what she'd done. Those weren't just angry words, he meant it." Rick's testimony provided the missing piece investigators needed. The phone call established motive, the timeline, and Dale's state of mind during the crucial hours. On August 18th, 3 days after the murder, Detective Chen and his team arrived at Morrison Construction's Deptford job site. They found Dale operating a backhoe, seemingly going about his normal routine, as if nothing had happened. "Dale Morrison, "You're under arrest for the murder of Valeria Stone," Chen announced, handcuffs ready. Dale's co-workers watched in shock as their foreman was led away in handcuffs. Several later told reporters they'd noticed Dale seemed off that week, but attributed it to personal problems, not something this serious. "Do you think Dale's friend did the right thing by talking to police?" During his initial interrogation, Dale maintained his innocence, claiming he'd driven straight home after dinner and spent the evening watching television. But when confronted with the cell phone evidence and Rick's testimony about the threatening phone call, his story began falling apart. If you are enjoying this content, like, subscribe, and share it with your loved ones to protect them from the same tragedy happening to them in the future. Faced with overwhelming evidence, Dale Morrison finally broke during his third day of interrogation. Through tears of rage rather than remorse, he confessed to strangling Valeria Stone, claiming he felt tricked and humiliated by her revelation. "She made a fool out of me," Dale told investigators. "I couldn't let her get away with that." His confession sealed his fate. In March 2020, Dale accepted a plea deal for second-degree murder, receiving a 25-year sentence without possibility of parole. Judge Patricia Williams addressed him directly during sentencing. "Your inability to accept another person's truth cost a young woman her life. No amount of personal embarrassment justifies what you did." The impact on both families was devastating. Dale's parents, who had welcomed Valeria warmly just months earlier, struggled to reconcile their son's actions with the man they thought they knew. His children, now teenagers, were forced to grapple with having a father who was a convicted murderer. Valeria's chosen family in New Jersey, her co-workers and friends, organized a memorial service that drew over 200 people. Her marketing colleagues established the Valeria Stone Memorial Fund, providing scholarships for transgender students pursuing careers in communications. The LGBTQ+ community rallied around Valeria's memory, using her story to advocate for transgender rights and safety. Garden State Equality, New Jersey's largest LGBTQ+ advocacy organization, pushed for enhanced hate crime legislation, citing cases like Valeria's, where transgender individuals face disproportionate violence. Valeria's death represents the deadly consequences of transphobia in our society, said spokesperson Amanda Chen during a vigil in Camden. She deserved to live authentically without fear, and her killer's sense of entitlement to violence against transgender women reflects broader cultural problems we must address. Tragically, Valeria's biological family in Ohio maintained their silence even after her death. Her parents never attended the trial, never issued a public statement, and never claimed her body. She was buried in a small ceremony organized by her New Jersey friends, finally finding the acceptance in death that had been denied to her in life by her birth family. The case sparked conversations about dating, disclosure, and the violence faced by transgender individuals nationwide. Statistics show that transgender women, particularly women of color, experience murder rates significantly higher than the general population. What can we learn from this tragedy? Valeria Stone was just 35 years old when her life was cut short by someone's inability to accept her truth. Her story serves as a reminder that behind every headline about transgender violence is a real person who deserved love, acceptance, and most importantly, the right to live. Where are you watching from? Drop your location below and let me know your thoughts on this case.